welcome back everybody to a weekly energy update here at transCODES. My name is Yona Brindis and I'm airing here from the, well, right now sunny but otherwise quite dreary Colorado in the United States. Today is April the 26th of 2017, and let's look at what this shift that is coming in today, what this is bringing us. First, I would like to talk about those last 2 weeks and why I skipped last week's energy update. I said I don't want to sound like a broken record in my written energy report, and that was just you know, when you have to report that well, things are going to go not as well as you want them to go, and you're going to feel stuck. You know, that's not really a positive message, but it's important to look back and review this a little bit, okay, and learn from this. So when collective correctional waves hit us, which is what happened these last 3-4 weeks, then it's very important to go back and reflect. Revisiting some of these like really sort of deep, dark nights of the soul is what makes those experiences learning experiences. And so I want to spend a few minutes here on reflecting on those last 2 weeks, and then move into the energies that are ahead of us here the next week. Just to give you a brief sort of heads up, it's going to get a little easier. We're not over the hump yet, but you're going to like how this is going to develop. All right, let's make an inventory here. In the energy report called Reality Check, Making Peace from Within, I reflected a little bit on what was going on these last 2 weeks. Okay, so there was the feeling of being completely stuck. A lot of you had severe physical issues, mostly sort of stomach, head, ears. That's still very prevalent, but also aspects with knees or lower back. So back issues or joint issues, those are very typical for times when or those are very typical signals for going into resistance. All right, so these last 2 weeks were literally showing us what our inner resistance is, what is holding us back from moving forward. Now, subjectively, of course, we experienced it as a very difficult time, and we felt like everything around us is holding us back. But what we can learn from these correctional and collective waves is that they're there to show us where our core fears are. And what is the core fear here when it comes to moving forward? Well, it's quite simple, actually. It's the fear of the unknown. So we all know that our ego really prefers the familiarity of you know, our misery, really. And so moving forward for most of us means letting go of how we relate to certain things in our life. Other people, of course, our relationships. So this is an energy that was coming in last week to really look at how do we relate to others. And for many energetically sensitives, it really also meant to look at things like what makes me vulnerable energetically. Why am I absorbing? I talked a lot about those dynamics of energetic interaction here last week. The dynamics of projection and absorption, and those are really big subjects to reflect on. I can only skip over those right now because those are all things that you can read in my blog, where I publish regular articles in regards to etheric protection and how to manage your energy better. What was really significant these last 2 weeks was how we handled being sort of confronted with our core fears. And it is in the nature of encountering our core fears that we go into our core behaviors, which is inner child stuff for most of us. And so many of you may have felt or may have found themselves in a place of almost like a powerlessness to even deal with life, to even wanting to get up, to even function. I mean, most of us really had a hard time functioning past just bare necessities, okay? So if you went through this, do not judge yourself or do not doubt yourself. You were really not alone with this, and after all, that's part of the reason why I do these reports, to let you know that you are not alone. But of course, that is not the solution. So what was the biggest issue these past weeks was that we didn't see any solutions. We couldn't really find anything that was or that could get us out of there. And so many of us were dwelling a bit on those things that really have been with us all our lives. So the big part of the resistance that came in was having to realize those patterns that are dominating our lives. And while I was spending an extended amount of time with personal energy coaching these past 2 weeks, helping people through those times by bringing in new perspectives and helping people to reframe those experiences, it is really obvious that the only thing that can help us to shift out of a stuck situation, a stuck state, all right, is to reframe our stuckness and to really go into like, okay, this is a temporary state. This is not me. This is not who I am. This is a temporary state. And as so many before me have quoted, this too will pass. But it is important to reflect on that and to read that so that we don't get stuck in the same mud again. And this is kind of like what the task was in these past 2 weeks, to consciously allow ourselves to look at what is holding us back. And the only resolution for this, and this is sort of the energy that is coming in now with this week, here starting with a new moon, is remembering and getting ready to move by remembering our core values. Who are we? What do we stand for? And what are our priorities? If we feel stuck, it's mostly because we feel overwhelmed. We can't deal with everything at once. And yes, these past 2 weeks were tough. Things breaking here and there, and nothing really moving forward. And again, it's important that we don't doubt ourselves here. It's important that we just see it for what it is. So a reality check, as I called this past energy update, was what it was. It was an inventory of where we're at. And if we found out that, there are things that we're afraid of and that we're not quite integrate yet in our practical lives, well, then get on it. All right, get ready. This is the energy that's coming in now for this coming week. You really want to make sure that you anchor your spiritual beliefs, your dreams and hopes into the physical. We can't just think our way through these things, folks, okay? This is not how this works, and this is not how spirituality works either. This is wishful thinking, if we think harder and harder. We just get caught in deeper loops, all right? So this is not a feasible way. A feasible way is to go into your center, to really focus on the core of your being and become congruent, to make your energetic reality your physical reality, and vice versa. And from this center point, your energetic power will allow you to manifest those things over time. But you've got to set the right seeds. You've got to anchor this into, who you truly are and what your priorities are. You can't talk about ascension and all these cool sort of metaphysical concepts without ever walking the talk, without ever putting this into action. This will really lower your energetic power, and by the way, also your energetic immune system. This is why so many of you absorb a shit ton of energies from others, because you don't have the energetic power to withstand those things, to withstand the bombardment that's coming in from the outside, that's coming in from collective energies. All right, collective energies are like weather. You can't change it. It's always there, and just because you're beginning to feel those energetic shifts now doesn't mean they weren't there before. Just because you can feel how other people project energies onto you, or how they manipulate you in this unseen sort of energetic interaction level, doesn't mean they haven't done this before. In fact, it actually doesn't even mean that you haven't done this before. So a lot of us here, who are serious about this type of consciousness work and really sort of digging in, into our fears and working with our ego and overcoming some of these old patterns, had to realize that, we're doing this too. And we have to own our part. So again here, the resistance of the past 2 weeks was mostly about owning our part. If we could get through this, apart maybe from the physical symptoms, which were quite heavy on us here as well, all right? But if you could go through this without major sort of beating yourself up and doubting your self-worth and so forth, you can now get into a place of really transcending those old patterns, all right? And the main message I have for you for those next coming weeks, please remember that your energetic reality, okay, that the part of you that exists in this really sort of dense reality here in 3D takes longer to transmute. It takes longer. All these things that are ingrained, that are programmed into your nervous system, into your behavioral patterns, your habits, they take longer. So even if you already have the insights, even if you get it, this doesn't mean that you can change this overnight. All right, you got to be patient here. That's part of anchoring things into the physical. So next week, you can look forward to some of these physical symptoms relieving a little bit, and you will not feel as bombarded by your autonomous nervous system anymore, so things can calm down a bit. But this doesn't mean that you can sort of lean back and just forget about what happened in these 2 weeks prior. This means like, hey, get moving. Put in the seeds. And if you don't know what you want, then go back to your core values. What do you stand for? What do you want in your life? And are you going into the right direction? So my tip for next week is really looking into your first chakra again, third chakra, so that what is coming next, which is the expression, the true and congruent expression of who you are, which is sort of like the beginning of May until the middle of May, your fifth chakra, so that has the right foundation. All right, so use this week now to have a good foundation. Okay, let's look at first chakra energies here a little closer, and why I'm bringing this in regards to going through our core fears and going through some of the fundamental work that we all need to do here as energetically sensitives. All right, I've mentioned this before. It's about our foundation, okay? So first chakra, the root, is about how we stand here in this life. It's the right to be here, to claim our stakes, to feel safe on a very rudimentary, very primal level. All right, and the associated physical aspects here, as you can see, are our adrenals, our tailbone, our lymphatic system, our skeletal system, our hips, legs, and feet, but also and our colon. And if we have dysfunctions here, disruptions in our first chakra, we will most likely feel this in lower back issues, knee issues, eating disorders. They're flaring up. All these things were really flaring up these last couple of weeks. But also just in general infections. If our lymphatic system doesn't work right, then we're more prone to retracting colds, retracting diseases, infectious diseases. So those were things that were part of this sort of recurring physical bombardment. Okay, the emotional aspects that are behind that here are showing you what I've mentioned before, the core fears, and of course for many of us also anger and disdain that we have stored along with our fears. A lot of time we use anger to justify or to cover up our fears. So take a little closer look at that, because if you're dealing with shadow aspects and also inner child aspects, then that is probably where you want to look. How do you actually express your anger? This was a big theme those last 2 weeks, and especially for females here, for you women, try to reframe your view on anger, because a repressed anger can lead to really severe first chakra issues. And as most of you know, when our foundation it doesn't function right, when the energy centers in our foundation don't regulate our energy correctly, well, then everything else is kind of affected by this. All right. So avoidance, I talked about this 2 weeks ago, the numbing, trying to check out, even if it's just by excessive sleeping or gaming or watching TV, watching news, distracting from our own stuff. All those things, along with victimhood and isolation, feeling alone, those are not things that bring us forward. Those are all the symptoms of our lack of proper foundation. Okay, so along with that, our perspectives here and our views, our beliefs, and this is plays directly into our survival stuff. All right, so the structure that we've set up in our life, and do we feel safe? Do we even have we created a life that allows us to feel free enough to go into expression? If not, if you have to walk on eggshells, if you feel like you better shut up or you're not being heard anyway, you may want to, look at your relationships and the people that are around you. Is there even trust there? And how does my work reflect all this? Am I doing a job that I can love, where I feel safe, or do I constantly get threatened? Is there constantly this fear of making a mistake? Making mistakes was a big one this entire week. Right, this core fear almost of total annihilation if we make a mistake. There are no mistakes, guys. There are only choices. All right, and every choice has a learning experience along with it. So don't be afraid of making mistakes and numbing yourself to the point where you're not making any choices anymore. All right, if you feel stuck in your life, this is why. All right, so also our home, I can't really emphasize this enough, and those of you who work with me personally know this. I put a lot of emphasis on you looking at your home, like how do you bring this into the physical and your direct surrounding? What are the energies in your home? Do you live in a place where you constantly feel bombarded from other people's energies, or do you have enough space? Creating your own space and filling it up with you, with the true you, with your love and your energy is the most fundamental first chakra thing you can do. So it's not a mistake to look at maybe changing your living situation. or getting a bigger place, or getting a place that has a piece of nature with it, where you can grow some of your own vegetables, or where you can just sort of enjoy life a bit more. Those things are all connected with first chakra. Along with this, of course, are some of the physical concepts here, the metaphysical concepts, excuse me, that come in, which is self-preservation. And as long as you don't feel the right to be here, it's very difficult for you to have a secure feeling from within. And as most of you know, one of the most common coping mechanisms, like patterns or behaviors that we use in order to deal with this, is externalizing our power. And that is why we feel so powerless. So if you want to do something about this, without going deeper into the individual challenges and energetic blocks that we see with people who have issues with first chakra energies, is really be here, be in your physical. All right, I get it. Not everybody's happy with their physical, all right? And we can work on this. But on the first chakra level, it's not about how you look. It's about how you can actually just be in your body, be here. And one of the things that work really well for this is connecting with nature. Okay, so no matter where you live, there's always a little park or, woods or something close by. If you feel really low, do not isolate, do not numb yourself. Go outside and allow nature to help you. Reach out. And nature is always there for you, okay? The reaching out can also be extended, of course, to other people. So that's where our relationships come in. If we don't have relationships where there's a sort of a base level of trust, well, then that can be a bit difficult. And this was one of the reasons why I was so busy these past 2 weeks, because most of us really don't have anyone to talk about some of these deeper things that happen within us. And so my tip for you is build a network, join a community that allows you to reach out, even if it is just a friend, who has a little bit of understanding of energetic sensitivity. Join a self-help group, go to a community college, join a course of something that you always wanted to do, or consider doing deeper energy work, for instance here at transCODES or with other energy healers. Those things will connect you with your physical, because you're going to be able to talk to someone who understands what you're going through. And if you look at the remedies here, there's some other suggestions. Alignment to softness and bringing in the more sort of feminine nature of your existence. Those are, of course, slightly advanced metaphysical concepts, but those things are important to allow in your life. I have recommended many people to start actually gardening, to plant your own seeds, to start growing your own food, and really going into this beauty of creation. All right, watch something grow. The fastest way to do this is to get some sunflower seeds, and put them in the earth and give it water and sun, and within a week, you're going to see this miracle of creation happening in front of your eyes. And that can reconnect you with your own creation energies. Other things are that help you with your first chakra are things that are impact-based, okay? Things like drumming, things like kickboxing, things that allow you to feel your body. Many people have heard me say this, go chop wood, or punch the pillow if you have, but things that make you feel your body again. And along with this, of course, the big overall theme that is going on since the beginning of the year, really allow yourself to feel your body, to feel your feelings. Go back to allowing all these things that you have been repressing, because they are the things that are backfiring now. They are the things that are pulling you down. So it's not about becoming perfect, becoming better, trying harder. No. It's about becoming more real. Alright? So if you want to become more real, more true to yourself, you gotta allow this on all levels. And cutting out your lower chakras is not going to get you there. This is a big mistake, and one of those spiritual diseases amongst the esoteric and New Age communities. You know, to refuse, to reject everything that comes from a lower chakra place, you know, like anger or physicality. This is a dead end, guys. This is a wrong exit. You have to deal with your lower chakra stuff, because this is part of you. This is the part of the densest manifestation of you. And every morning when you wake up, you're going to wake up with your body. You're going to wake up with your emotions and even your thoughts. And that's why you can't ignore them. All right? So this is the message for this week. And I hope that I didn't come across too harsh here. But this is a wake-up call. All right? So get ready. Get ready for reality. All right? Thank you. What can I recommend to those of you who are willing to work with those energies? What are the sessions that are going on here at transCODES this week? Well, currently, right now, we are working on our lower chakras with the Grace Sacral Heart Fusion Marathon. This is a bit too late for you to sign up for, but we'll also have an interesting workshop coming up on Saturday, working with the energetic aspects of parenting. So if you're interested in this, this workshop is free for our Sacred Self-Healing members, and costs only $25 for someone who's interested joining in this webinar workshop. Today we have our monthly free Connecting with True Self transmission, so please come to this free event. It's a very beautiful remote energy session that helps you to reconnect within. And if you've never had a remote energy session, don't worry. There's instructions, and you even get an MP3 that can help you a little bit to tune into those energies. Next week on Wednesday we have the Grace Gaia Sophia session coming up. This is an advanced inner reconciliation. Not recommendable if you haven't done any energy work before, but for those of you who really seek for this deeper spiritual reconciliation, very, very cool session. Also, I want to point out that we're coming back to the beginning of the month. At every first of the month, we're starting a new round of our Heart Warrior program. We have 2 spots left currently for the next 90-day Heart Warrior Bootcamp. This is like intense energy work. So those of you who like the intensity of a preset schedule, weekly energy coaching, energetic clearings, and remote energy sessions, hurry up. Those spots usually fill up very quickly. One last thing, until the end of April we have this energy clearing special here at transCODES. This is very recommendable for those of you who went through a really dark night of the soul and are looking for some clean slate. Okay, book a energetic clearing. Again, you get instructions and you get a very detailed report. You can book this with or without an energy coaching session afterwards. But for many of us, this can be a great way of just assessing where we're at and what we need to work on. All right, so I'm wishing you a wonderful week 18. I'm going to see you again May 3rd, May 4th, when the next energy shift is expected. So all the best to you. Much love. Yona.